The old adage is correct. No matter how bad you think it currently is, it can always get worse. And a new mainstream poll is out showing that the Conservatives are not just up like they've normally been on the Liberals, anywhere from 12 to 17 points. They are above the Liberals by 21 points. This is the largest lead that the Conservative Party has ever had since 2018. It is currently 2024, so the biggest lead they've had in 6 years. And even back then in 2018, that was with SNC-Lavalin and other scandals pushing the Conservatives up in the polls. We are right now pretty much scandalous. I know that the Arrive Can thing is still going on, Arrive scam, but a lot of the public doesn't really know too much about that one. I don't think it's really peaked in the same way SNC-Lavalin is. So I think there's still room for the Conservatives to gain even more share of the vote. Right now, they're at 46% according to Mainstreet, and they tend to be quite accurate. They're only 4% away from getting literally majority territory in terms of the popular vote. And when you take Quebec out, because they're only around 29% in Quebec in this Mainstreet poll, which still actually puts them in first in Quebec because of how divided things are, that put them above 50% in Anglo Canada. English Canada, the Conservatives are above 50%. That poll literally put the Conservatives in the lead in the riding of Spadina Fort York in the downtown area of Toronto. It is like the third or fourth most densely populated riding in the country. And the Conservatives have the edge based on the last couple of polls that have come out. I'd love to see Kevin Vaughn be the MP candidate there for the Conservatives or somewhere else. I'd love to see Kevin stay in Parliament, and I really hope he does. And if he can stay in his own riding, that would be amazing. But now I want to jump over to Abacus's data, more deeper dive on what people think of Justin Trudeau's performance when it comes to different areas of government, because this is the most telling portion. The national polling numbers can say whatever they want, because at the end of the day, most people just don't really like the national poll numbers can change. People's emotions change about the government, and they maybe will go back to voting Liberal before the next election, unless they have a fundamental belief that the current government is just horrible at their jobs and they don't trust them. This is why Trudeau was able to recover from his, like deficit in the polls back in 2018, because after SNC-Lavalin ended, there was enough Canadians who still thought the Liberals had their best interests in mind that they migrated back over. Not anymore. But before I get to that, I just quickly want to plug the fact that Wyatt Claypool, I'm running for the Calgary Signal Hill Conservative Party nomination. If you live in these riding boundaries in Calgary, make sure you buy a membership, vote for me. My website's in the description below this video, WyattClaypool.com. If you know anyone in this riding, get them to sign up. We want real Conservatives representing strong Conservative ridings. I'm running against like 14 other people, most of whom don't live in the riding and are barely Conservative. A lot of Aaron O'Toole types where all they'll say is they're against like Justin Trudeau as a person. That's really it. Anyways, but here are the Abacus data results. The only thing right now that Justin Trudeau and the Liberals are above water on is responding to Russia's invasion of Ukraine. And even then, I would argue that they've done a terrible job when you actually know that they've basically deprived Ukraine of any actual useful aid. They've basically just been sending cash and drones, which is kind of useless to Ukraine. So regardless of what you think on Ukraine, they haven't even been great allies of them. They've been mostly just giving them useless aid. And now what we have below that is working with the provinces. This one was close, but we still have 50% of Canadians saying that the Liberals have done a terrible job and only 44% saying they've done a good job. And even that's a very nebulous category. What does working with the provinces really mean at the end of the day? And then we have running an ethical government. 54% of Canadians say they've done a terrible job, and 40% of Canadians say that they've been doing a good or acceptable job. Horrifying for them. Managing the economy. And this is where it basically just wrecks and nobody likes them anymore. 61% they're doing a terrible job, bad or terrible job. Responding to the crisis in healthcare, 61% poor or terrible. Managing the government's finances, 62 bad or terrible. Addressing the rising costs of inflation, 71% bad or terrible. Making housing more affordable and acceptable, 73% poor and terrible, with only 23% saying good or acceptable. That is a death knell for this government because they've staked all of their future electoral chances on the housing issue. That's why they won't stop promoting how great of a job Sean Fraser's doing with his new housing plan, despite the fact that they're going to try and release a new housing plan this year because the one they just rolled out didn't do very well. But, who's counting at this point? But this is an issue that if I was advising the Liberals, either they should actually try and do an actually good job and lower immigration so that we can afford houses again. They're not going to do that because they're ideologically committed to mass immigration, or ignore the issue. But for some reason, they won't ignore it. So every single day, Justin Trudeau, Chrystia Freeland, and Sean Fraser just sound a giant alarm and roll down the red flags around the housing issue so that everybody knows how bad that they're doing. And it just came out the other day, too, that really what the Liberals are doing with their stupid housing acceleration fund is bribing provinces or bribing cities in order for them to eliminate all of their zoning laws. So they're not actually making it cheaper to build homes in terms of lowering the amount of inspections that need to be done, speeding up the process so that they can actually get to laying down foundations and building homes. No. They're just going to get rid of zoning in order to try and reduce the cost. And if they do that, then the government might throw a city like Calgary, like $100 million in the next couple of years. It's not actually going to make housing actually more affordable. And if anything, I guarantee that the Liberals are going to now take their leverage they have on cities in the next couple of years and start trying to jam down even more environmental regulations onto the building of new homes, that you must build a home like this, that, or the other thing, or you don't get any of your federal money. You must have solar panels on it, or you're not getting your housing acceleration fund cash. And the Conservatives and conservative councillors in different cities are basically saying this could ruin our cities in favor of barely building any more homes. And again, the housing is not the problem. It's the immigration that's the problem. I wish they actually would have pulled immigration on this thing in Abacus, because I don't think that they would be getting very good grades on immigration, but I think the Liberals are happy to not know how bad that they're doing on immigration. Is there anything else I can mention? Nothing really else other than the Conservatives are still stomping the Liberals in every single demographic group. They're leading with young people, middle-aged people, as well as the elderly, 18 to 29, 30 to 44, 45 to 59, 60 plus. The Conservatives' smallest lead is with the Gen Z and younger millennials. 36% is what their share is. That's insane. And the problem for the Liberals is that they have no obvious base yet. At least the NDP is in a solid second place with 18 to 29-year-olds. Everywhere else, the Liberals do not punch in any sort of significant degree of that demographic group. They have 28% of 60 plus, but the Conservatives also have 41%. So proportionately, the Liberals are doing way worse with competing for older voters than the NDP are doing competing for younger voters alongside the CPC. It's basically over. I don't think I could put a finer point on it. But that should be it for me today. Again, reminder, Wyatt Claypool, I'm running for the Calgary Signal Hill Conservative Party nomination. I know there's usually at least 3,000 of you, 4,000 of you who are watching me from the city of Calgary. So as a practice for the channel, go check which riding that you live in. See if you live in these riding boundaries. The riding boundaries are changing. So if you generally live in this side of Calgary on the west side, check where you live. Buy membership, vote for me. I guarantee a bunch of you live here and you don't even know it. And then also, if you want to contribute to the National Telegraph's legal fund, there's a Give, Send, Go link in the description below. We're being sued by a billionaire developer for defamation that he cannot prove and has submitted no evidence to prove, but he's still been dragging out this court case for over 2 years because a guest writer of ours once mentioned him in an article about where Erin O'Toole was getting fundraising money from. And in referencing this man, she just happened to just mention a Globe and Mail report about him. So we literally reported nothing new about him other than he was donating to Erin O'Toole, and then just linked a Globe and Mail article that was a in-depth investigation of him. And he apparently never sued them for investigating him because he knew the Globe and Mail would stomp him in court, but he just didn't assume that I was 21 at the time, that a 21-year-old would actually fight back. So we're over $26,000 deep in that lawsuit. So anything you can contribute, oh goodness, my talking. Anything you can contribute really helps us reduce the burden of our costs. Anyways, thanks for watching, guys. See you next time. Like, share, and subscribe.